Hello, friends and beautiful people. It is Kathryn Massell, 5D Visionary, Elevated Consciousness Coach. It is Sunday Support. We're going to be talking today about co-creating in the Cosmic Hologram. A little late start today. Sorry about that. Truth be told, I was watching football. I was watching football and the day got away from me and I realized I hadn't organized my notes. And yeah, sometimes you gotta watch football. I am from Buffalo, New York, and so our beloved Buffalo Bills, an underdog for about 2.5 decades, is about to get, yes, I watch football. Hey, we all have our ways to get grounded, right? Mine is watching football. That's my intentional grounding. Little football humor for you. Yes, I'm from Buffalo, New York, and we have a shot at glory. It's really cute. My mom, who still lives in Buffalo, New York, is texting me, letting me know about all her favorite players and everything about how much she loves the Buffalo Bills. It's really friggin' cute. But the game was yesterday for Buffalo Bills for the AFC, and I was watching the Kansas City game because it's probably gonna be, yeah, Kansas City. So, like my Python says, and now for something completely different. We're going to be talking about today in Sunday Support, no judgment. Oh, I didn't take it that way at all. We all got our ways to do what we need to do, right? It can't be unicorns and rainbows and cosmic holograms all the time, right? We're still living a life as humans, and we have to enjoy our humanness. For me, it's watching sports, watching football specifically. And my husband, who's a Patriots fan, you know, for once, I don't have to watch the Patriots. I can watch the Bills. So, anyway, this is going to be a talk that it's going to bring up some things that are having to do with, of course, what's going on right now in our world, the pandemic. We're going to touch on that a little bit. But what is it to co-create in the Cosmic Hologram? And like how I want to gear all of these Sunday Support talks, yes, we're talking about some bigger themes here, but how that trickles down into our everyday awareness, and how these themes that maybe can seem a little nebulous or esoteric at times actually have tangible, practical, applicable, real life, everyday stuff that we're invited to be thinking about. Because the only way we're going to change things is how we're doing things in the everyday, right? So hello, whoever's joining. Say hello, let me know you're here. Couple quick announcements, just real quick. You're going to hear me talking about this a lot over the next few weeks. February 5th through 7th is our Global Acceleration of Ascension live virtual summit. It takes place right in the Global Acceleration of Ascension group. 39 presenters, 3 days, 30 minutes of people showcasing their best wisdom about how they are physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, working with and in the flow of Ascension energies, and helping you to do the same, you know, giving really good guidance on how to navigate during these challenging times. We have Ascension frequencies, elevated consciousness is, well, we're ever realizing new levels of elevated consciousness, and this shift has its challenges as we move into the new, as we establish our new normal. And this Ascension Summit really is a gathering of like-minded individuals, but who have a spectrum of information to share. We've got people who talk about the physical body. We've got people who talk about nutrition. We've got people who talk about, mental stamina, how to remain resilient during these times. We were talking about people who we're bringing people in who are doing energy activations. I mean, there's really something for everyone in this event. So it is totally free. It will always and ever be totally free. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Andrea. And it's February 5th through the 7th. It starts at noon Eastern time on Friday, February 5th. I'll be kicking things off with blessing the space in our opening ceremony. And then we go right into it. And we have about 14 presenters the first day, I think 12 or 13 the next day, and maybe another 12 on Sunday. 39 presenters, 3 days. It is binge worthy, folks. Bring a friend, invite a friend to the group. You always want to ask before you just invite people into the group. There's such a thing as free will choice. Let's honor that. And we want an intentional community here in Global Acceleration of Ascension. So please only invite people who have said yes to coming in. We want people who want to and choose to be here. Timelines Expanded Masterclass, my signature program, 12-week program starting live on January 25th. You can join this program anytime, but we start live on January 25th, 11 a.m. Pacific time on Zoom. All our calls are recorded. We have a private Facebook group, an amazing community of about 68, 69 members now in this class. It's going to be even more dynamic this time around because we are going 12 weeks, 3 whole months of talking about all things time and timelines, merging time, quantum jumping time, how humans create time, how to opt out of false time, ancestral timeline healing, so much more. Very exciting class. There's really nothing like it. That starts January 25th. The Quintessence Society is another group that I'm launching that starts March 11th. I've had a lot of people ask me, there's only 33 spots available for this. It is 16 weeks of studying and going deep down into the rabbit hole of 4D, 5D, 6D, and 7D over 16 weeks with support, quantum quintessence activations every week, practices to help you work with anchoring into these dimensional realities and elevating your consciousness, because that's what I do as an elevated consciousness coach and 5D visionary. It is at a very, very low investment price for a high amount of value. 16 weeks, it's only $199. That's it. It goes up to $299 on February 26th. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me to ask me if they can just pay right now. So I'm just going to open up the cart for it. I was going to wait until the beginning of the summit, but I have people who are like, I want to reserve my spot, but I just want to pay. So if you want to get in this group and you want to pay, it's $199 until February 26th. It's only going to be 33 spots in this group because that's the sweet spot for me when I asked my God self, how many people could I support in this vessel? And 33 was the number I got. So 33 is the number I'm going with. So if you want in on that, I'll put a link in here for you, or you can just comment here or message me and let me know you want in, and I will give you the link for that. So, co-creating in the Cosmic Hologram. Let's back up to talk about a hologram in the sense that, first of all, what is a hologram, right? Hi, Amy. Hello, everyone who's here. I can't see all the names. I'm sorry. A cosmic hologram. So when we think of a hologram, we think of something that is a projection of something, yes, a holographic projection, that in each fractal part or some part of the holograph, hi Danielle, it contains the whole. Just as the whole of a holograph contains all the sum parts, okay? That's the quick and dirty definition of what a holograph is. We live in a holographic universe. This is held, yes, as a theory, but my studies in metaphysics and the things that I have downloaded, information I've received, everything seems to back up this theory that we are in a holographic universe. And I'm going to bring in some principles today that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 8 different principles of co-creating in the cosmic hologram to sort of back up this idea, or sort of give you some genuine information about how we are co-creating our reality with each other in a cosmic hologram. We're going to talk about that in 8 different ways. So when you think about a hologram, you know, it is a really good way to start thinking about the projection of a hologram and what it is and what it does, its function, why it functions that way. Think about sacred geometry for a second. Okay, so I'm going to find real quick an image of the flower of life, okay? Probably one of the most familiar forms of sacred geometry, yeah? The flower of life. You can probably imagine it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the comments, and hopefully oh, I can't do images here, I don't think. Yeah, I can't. But I'll put it up in the group. So there's always a workaround, folks. Everything is figure outable. Okay. So I just put in our group, the flower of life sacred geometry. So when you look at the flower of life, and I invite you, if you're able to go look at this. If you're on a desktop, it'll be easy. If you're on your phone watching this, probably not. But the flower of life is an intricate flower pattern that repeats. Yes? Okay. Why is sacred geometry called sacred in the first place? Sacred geometry is called sacred because it is the foundation for the biological functioning, for the biological template for any and all life that is aligned with divinity. That's why sacred geometry is sacred, okay? And nature is always seeking the simplest form of expressing itself. Nature is simplicity. It is the most efficient functioning to find the most simple form for any essence to perform its function, okay? Nature is simplicity. And so when you look at the flower of life and you look at the sacred geometry of the flower of life and you really ponder the image, you see that each one of the petals that forms the flower is in a repeating pattern of the flower of life. But if you were to take a microscope and zoom in, okay, in anything in nature that takes on a flower of life sacred geometry, and there are many things in nature that take on the flower of life. If you look at the inside of a sunflower, if you were to zoom in on that, that is the flower of life sacred geometry in there. It also happens to be a flower. But there are other things that take on this form. Why? Because it's the simplest form, most efficient form of expressing itself as a biological function and being part of divinity at the same time. Okay? But if you were to zoom in on this flower of life on a very, very microscopic level, what you would see is more flowers of life, or flower of lives, flowers of life. How do I pluralize that? And you zoom in on that again and you would see more of the same. Okay? That's a good indication right there that we live in a holographic universe. Repeating patterns. And that's just thinking about it as static. If something is moving and growing in a function of growth, in other words, it's not static, it's moving, it's dynamic. It flows in and out of these patterns like fractals. So if you've ever gone to, well, if you watched the video I put in a post last week, I did a post called Fractals and Flow States. Because one of the best ways to understand how we flow in and out of states of consciousness is to observe fractals, okay? Because fractals are, in a larger sense, a hologram in motion, okay? So if you really want to be able to concretize this thinking visually, go look at a YouTube video of fractals, okay? Where you're zooming in on something that is not static, it's in motion, it's being created in the moment. And then it focuses in on the singular part, but then it blossoms out into the whole, and then it keeps recreating over and over again on into infinity. okay? This is a good way of understanding the cosmic hologram that we live in, okay? Where, in other words, you are a fractal of the consciousness of all that is. Everything is consciousness. Everything. Everything is consciousness. The cosmic hologram is consciousness, and consciousness is a cosmic hologram. You are an individuated thread, a fractal of that cosmic hologram. You are one singular moving part of the all that is. You, as a fragment of consciousness, are, in fact, consciousness exploring itself. And through that, you are contributing to the whole of consciousness. And what's amazing is that we are never not doing this. It never stops. We are all contributing to the whole of all consciousness, of all that is, through our unique thread or fragmentation of consciousness. We are always then adding to, we are always then refining, we are always reinventing then what is the whole, because it's in constant creation. So when you think about fractals and flow states, and I invite you to go back in the group, and if you want me to tag you on it, and find this post, because this will help give you a better foundation of what I'm talking about here. We're going in and out of, in our individuated thread of consciousness, meaning the consciousness that is you, the consciousness that is me. We are fractals going in and out of, but contributing to and participating in this cosmic hologram all the time. We're all creator beings because we are all a thread of this consciousness. We are all a piece of this cosmic hologram. And if a hologram, if the definition I gave is true, in that, yes, the hologram itself as the whole contains all the sum parts. You as the sum parts contain all of the whole within you. Okay? That's the holographic nature of the universe in a nutshell. I go into this in a lot more detail in Timelines Expanded. I spend the whole, well, really first, second, maybe even third modules of Timelines Expanded talking about consciousness. And when we understand that everything, every sum part contributes to the whole, nothing is left out. Nothing is left out. Nothing is left to chance, and nothing is random. Okay? Are you guys with me so far? So take another example here. If we were to think about, and I'm going to start unraveling how we are co-creators in this cosmic hologram. If you think about the whole of the all that is, if you want to call it the completeness of source, if you want to call it God, creation, consciousness, all of those things would be true and mean the same thing at the end of the day, really. The whole, the all that is, pure source. If you think of that as being the highest spiritual truth, it holds within the purity and the wholesomeness of the all that is. It holds the higher or highest even spiritual truth. And a way to break that down to see how we contribute to that higher spiritual truth, us being fractals of the whole, threads of individuated consciousness contributing to the whole, then our sacred truth that we pursue in this lifetime is contributing to the whole. In other words, we all have our own individuated crusade of truth within the cosmic hologram. And that's what we're contributing. And if we're living in integrity with this crusade of truth that we have, that could be, living in principled awareness of unity consciousness, meaning we have values and ethics and morals that are contributing to the wealth and well-being of unity consciousness, instead of living at a level where it's all about me and I'm on full ego personality watch all the time, 24/7. If you have things that you want to pursue in this lifetime, maybe you are a seeker of knowledge, and your crusade of truth is constantly unveiling new levels and layers of knowledge. Through your own individuated consciousness thread, that's what you're here to do. Especially if you feel like you have the momentum of purpose and mission behind that. Chances are that's your crusade of truth in this lifetime. I'll give you an example. Someone had written a Facebook post the other day and made a very clear declaration of her truth. And she had reached out to me because she said, I thought for sure you would have commented on this post or made some other kind of judgment that was interesting to hear. And that why wasn't I chiming in on this? And why wasn't I, more vocal in response to what she wrote, because she had tagged me or whatever. And I said very simply, because your crusade of truth is not mine. It doesn't mean that I don't hold love for you and space for you and blessings for you on your path of pursuing your crusade of truth. And whether I do or not, that's incidental, because it's your crusade of truth. That aligns with the ideals, the values, and the ethics that you want to pursue in this lifetime, because you feel that's what's taking you to greatness. That's what's taking you to expansive levels of consciousness. And who am I to say what that is? Or who am I to even come in and confirm it or validate it or give it credence even? And why do you need me to do that? Does that make sense? Her, as an individuated thread of consciousness, as a fractal of the cosmic hologram, is doing her part to contribute to the higher spiritual truth of the whole. Her path will not be mine. My path will not be hers. We can meet each other along the way here on our paths and support and love each other, because, hey, that's what unity consciousness is, right? But I don't have to even take my hat off to that truth. I don't. I don't have to salute it. I don't have to confirm it. I don't have to validate it. I can witness it compassionately. That's the best I can offer. Because my crusade of truth is about keep peeling away layers, unveiling knowledge that has been hidden from us. As a 5D visionary, I'm here to unfold, unpeel those layers, offer them up in ways where they can be, broken down and explained so that it can make people's lives more understandable, easier to live with more grace and more flow, and to take that knowledge and envision a better future. That's my crusade of truth. What a great statement of clarity. My crusade of truth is not your crusade of truth. Awesome. And doesn't that make sense? I mean, it may sound a little bit simplistic, but what did I say at the outset of this talk here? Nature loves simplicity. Nature seeks simplicity because it's the most efficient form of expression. So we can look then, if you guys are with me and on board with this so far, we can look then at ways where we might be convoluting our truth, right? Not living in integrity with it. Maybe we have certain values and ethics and morals that we're just not living out in the day-to-day life. There's an opportunity to clean that up. And then be a more purified fractal of consciousness that contributes in only a greater way to the higher truth of the whole. I know this might be a little nebulous, but are you guys getting, if you sit with this and you're listening to my words and maybe you're listening to the essence between the words, is this making sense? And I'm going to talk about some other themes here. We are the wholeness of consciousness, exploring and experiencing itself through many levels of existence. I'm going to say that again. We are the wholeness of consciousness, exploring and experiencing itself through many levels of existence. Think about that. So given what I used as examples, isn't there room then for lots of different levels of expression, lots of different layers and nuances and finesses, right? And we can compassionately witness it all and allow each other as fractals of the wholeness of consciousness to create in their crusade of higher truth for them. And, it involves a little trust and surrender that will eventually lead them to the higher spiritual truth of the whole. And our problem, yes, our problem, collectively as humans, is our fucking judgment. Sorry, not sorry. Because we're looking at what happens in the world and we're taking a snapshot of a fragment of consciousness that happens to be happening because of an event and a response to that event. And then we think in that snapshot of the all of consciousness in the entire cosmic hologram that this is telling the whole story. That's our problem. We limit ourselves to a moment of judgment based on a snapshot of infinity. And we do this all day, every day, all the time. I do it too. I'm not exempt. I catch myself a little bit more now than I ever used to. But this is our problem. This is our opportunity. This is our opportunity to move into that compassionate witness energy. Because without this gateway to unity consciousness, we're lost. True, Larissa. We base judgments on snapshots of time all the time. And we think that's all that is, or we think that's all that person is, or we think that's all that situation is. We think that this event has stopped unfolding. No. It's just contributing to the whole. And if we haven't seen the full contribution to the whole yet, how do we know that story has ended? How do we know that person's story has ended? How do we know that events or a situation's story has ended? We don't. It makes sense. It's why I've worked to accept others and to not get mad about their role in this greater experience. I have to catch myself. We all do. And I want to say this. We are all responsible. And you may say, oh, hold up, pump the brakes on that, Kathryn. I'm not responsible for her behavior. Yes, you are, in the sense of this definition of responsibility. Responsibility is the ability to respond. Responsibility is the ability to respond. And every single one of us, as sentient beings, has that ability. We all have the ability to respond. We usually exercise this as our ability to react, and we see where that gets us, right? The ability to respond. So I want to break this down a little bit further. I'm glad you guys are on board with what I'm saying so far, and this makes sense. Nietzsche says, and we are a snapshot of our own selves in the moment we are judging someone else's snapshot. Booyah. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's break this down a little bit more. There are 8 principles of co-creativity. And when we talk about 4D in the upcoming Quantum Quintessence Society, when we talk about 4D, we're going to spend 4 weeks on each dimensional layer and level of reality, 4D, 5D, 6D, and 7D. When we talk about 4D, we're going to talk about this a lot because the gateway to 5D, you can't get there without going through 4D. And 4D is really about the foundational level of awareness to unity consciousness. because it's where we suss out those suppressed emotions. We bring them up to the light and we deal with them. We look at the collective hive mind and how we are a mirror for that and how it is a mirror for us, okay? And we look at this through certain principles of co-creativity, and there are 8 of them that I'm going to explore, not in depth here, because that's what my Quantum Quintessence Society is about. But I want to give you guys a snapshot of what this is about, because these are really important things. And they're things that I invite you to meditate on in your own time and in your own way, especially if one of these principles resonates with you. That's always the cosmic clue being dropped out of the ether of the cosmic hologram for you, that there's something deeper to investigate there for you, okay? So one of the first principles of co-creativity is relativity. Broken down really simply, it's contrast, right? How do we learn about ourselves? How have we created an identity or personal reality for ourselves? Through contrast, right? Relativity. Everything that exists is relative to something else, giving us contrast. And it is through the contrast that we get to explore, who we want to be, who we don't want to be, right? This contrast. Everything is relative to something else. And it's not a comparison. It's just relative to something else. We get caught up in comparisons here because the ego personality kind of has its way with this idea. And we get caught up in competition and comparison, not relativism. Relativism is different, and relativism is neutral. And when we neutralize these things I'm talking about here, when we look at them in their neutral state, static rather than being active, we can look at both sides of how they're polarized. But when we look at these in their kind of static states and their neutral states, this is the way for us to start moving into unity consciousness as well. To see what they are just in and themselves, the essence of what they are, without anything piled on top of it, if you want to say it that way. Relativity. Everything is relative to something else. This is part of the cosmic hologram. It's part of the law of polarity, which I talk about all the time. To everything in the universe, there is an equal and opposite energy, okay? This is a great way of understanding relativity. The second is resolution, where we are flowing back into balance, always. When you look at fractal states, if you find the video I have in here somewhere about fractal states, or just go on YouTube and find any video showing zooms of fractals. When you really sit and meditate on that and look at that, you'll see that it microscopically flows into a singular point. And then that singular point, the second you're focusing in on it, it becomes singular. In that same moment, it expands. This is what is happening to us constantly. And I mean us being threads of consciousness that are the sum parts of the cosmic hologram. We're constantly striving towards equilibrium. In our bodies is a great example. Our bodies are always striving towards homeostasis, meaning all systems, organs functioning, striving towards balance and harmonic convergence. This is a great way to fragment how the universe works itself. It is always seeking balance, resolution, flowing back into balance. When we see things in the collective play out on the global stage of dramas and traumas, what we are seeking when an event happens, right, and things blow up, we're always seeking that place of moving back into balance. It doesn't happen right away, but then it does. This also goes into another state that I'm going to talk about, which is ebb and flow states. But this is how the cosmic hologram works. It is not static. It's always and ever moving. It's dynamic. It's flowing and always seeking harmonic convergence with the higher spiritual truth of the whole. Resonance. We're always talking about, well, I don't resonate with that person. I don't really resonate with that truth. What you're talking about in your individuated level of awareness is something that is always happening in the cosmic hologram of the all that is. Resonance. We do this individually as fractals of the cosmic hologram by trying to seek resonance on a physical, mental, emotional level, right? When you take a homeopathic remedy for an ailment that you have, what the homeopathic remedy is doing, or what we believe it's doing, is finding whatever dosage you're taking of the homeopathic remedy, it is seeking a part in you that already has resonance. And then it kind of cues that part of the body to give that instruction set to the whole of you to find that resonance again. Just as this happens in the inner world of your physical being, this is always happening in the cosmic hologram of the all that is, in the whole, okay? Reflection. And this is important because I want to talk about our pandemic situation within this principle of co-creativity. Reflection. Our inner reality is going to mirror our outer reality. And just the same way that works, our outer reality will mirror back a certain inner reality, right? This is reflection. There are a lot of cosmic laws. There are a lot of universal, immutable, meaning unchangeable laws that reflect this principle as well. Now, we have something that has been on the global stage of our collective lives, this pandemic, right? And I'm only offering things up here for your personal reflection and meditation. I'm not making any statements. We're all big boys and big girls here. You get to discern your own truth from what I'm saying, but I'm offering something up for your consideration, nothing more. Considering this principle of co-creativity, which is reflection. If our inner reality is reflecting into the outer reality, and vice versa, our outer reality is reflecting back to us another inner reality, or more of the inner reality, what does that say about this pandemic that's happening? Let's talk about when it first started to really show up here in the US, which was, February, let's just say January, February of 2019. I remember reading about it in the news, about, its origins in China, and then I just remember the cloud of fear becoming so massive after this. And the fear just kept amplifying and amplifying. Oh my God, it's coming here. Oh my God, we can't stop this thing. Oh my God, we're all sitting ducks, right? And it just kind of amplified and amplified and amplified. Well, in a holographic universe, no parts are left out. If you remember, I mentioned this at the very outset of this talk here. Nothing is random. There are no parts that don't have a use or aren't useful or have some application. In the cosmic hologram, everything has its purpose. And when you think about sickness, when you think about people being in unwell or diseased states, this doesn't happen if the mind isn't on board with it. This doesn't happen if the body isn't on board with it. In the holographic universe, everything are some parts of the whole. You don't get sick without the mind being involved. You don't get sick without the body being involved. And the mind, I'm talking about our thought fields and the emotional body alike, the pain body, if you will. And so if we are having a fear response that is tipping the scales, colossal fear response, in reflection of what is happening in the outer reality of these messages coming at us all the time about how sick we are, how helpless we're going to be, what are we going to do, all the things we're going to lose, all the people who are going to die. Do you think that enables us and enables the mind and the body, all of the sum parts, to get on board with getting well? Or does it enable us with staying sick and cultivating that sickness and co-creating that sickness for the entire planet? And when you think about how there really is no part of this globe at this point that is untouched by this pandemic in one way, shape, or form, what does that maybe say to you about the co-creative ability of the hive mind, the fractal, it maybe Earth being a fractal part of this cosmic hologram right now? And how we're co-creating this reality together. When we have dissonant fear states, and I want to talk about this just real quick to help you understand the cosmic hologram. Our well-being derives from our being in resonant and harmonious relationships of all types. If we have a disharmonious relationship with ourself, we're going to get sick, or we're going to manifest a lack or scarcity paradigm for ourselves that's going to have a trickle effect through many different parts of our lives. If we have a disharmonious relationship with this planet, and yes, we do, historically, we're going to manifest scenarios, situations that are going to reflect that. Because we're out of resonance, we're out of harmony with our direct environment. If we have disharmonious relationships with people around us, people in the world, and yes, they are very much so, nation states who are against each other and have been for hundreds and thousands of years, sworn enemies, maybe taken down through ancestral legacies that some of us still have, this Hatfield-McCoy's type dynamic, right? If we have disharmonious relationships in that way, on an interpersonal level, we may feel something towards another group or a person, etc., but it's going to play out eventually on the global scale, because that's the nature of the cosmic hologram. And something that's playing out on the global scale that we think, well, that doesn't really have anything to do with me, doesn't it? If we're living in a cosmic hologram and everything has to do with everything else, and everything is a fractal or fractionated or a fragmented version of that overall, overarching consciousness of the all that is, isn't there some thread trickling down that resonates and has a reflection in your life? I bet you know what the answer is. I'm just giving you guys something to think about here. But a lot of experiments have shown that when we live in dissonant states of chronic fear, and we are in that, folks, some of us more than others, I've learned to let that go a lot. And I learned to really amplify my mental body, my emotional body, my pain body, to resonate with my crusade of truth, which is that I am well. I have vitality. I have well-being. I have a robust immune system. I have a strong mental body. I'm not subject to being hijacked by disease or disharmonious states of being, however that may show up. That's just me, and that's the work that I've done, because I refuse to be infected by fear. Because if you're infected by fear, chances are you're going to be infected by a lot more than just that, okay? And again, this is me talking, guys. I'm not saying this is how it is or this is the truth for you. I am telling you my perspective on this and offering this up for your consideration, for you to think about. But experiments have shown that when we live in dissonant states of chronic fear or anxiety, the continuing level of disharmony and stress negatively affects our mental, emotional, physical health. It weakens our immune system, causing disease, depression, circulatory problems, stomach problems, bowel problems, digestive problems. How many people on this planet have digestive issues at this point? Because we literally can't stomach the reality we're living in. I'm sorry, I'm just here to break it down. You're an adult, you take from this what you will and what resonates, and you leave the rest, right? But when we're positively in tune with our surroundings and circumstances, and we have benevolent feelings and a sense of greater connection to the all that is, and if you have a greater connection to the all that is, chances are that is reflecting down through, then I have a different relationship with the people around me. I have a different relationship with the countries that are neighboring mine. I have a different relationship with the people who have religions and religious beliefs that differ from mine. Right? Do you guys see what I'm getting at here? When we have a greater connection with the all that is, and we don't feel this, pervasive sense of fear that is creating the paradigms of our life, the very structure of our lives, it could be argued that right now, people are creating lives out of fear. Or, I wish people were saying, I'm creating my life in spite of this fear. But aren't a lot of people, maybe even people that you know, creating a life for themselves or setting out plans for the future based off of a worst case scenario? I mean, think about that. Maybe you're doing it, and no judgment here, folks. But I'm just calling it out. I'm calling out the reflective nature of all of this. But if you tend to have more of a sense of faith and trust and surrender that the better future is already here, it just hasn't necessarily shown up on the physical plane where we can, honor it and know it with all of our five senses just yet. But that this reality is already true. There already is a better way. And we have benevolent feelings about that, benevolent beliefs about that. And our sense of greater connection, where we're embodied in this greater connection, where we feel better health, better vitality. And we start seeing then the benefits of physical health, not right away, because it takes a while for things to show up in density. As our awareness expands and we become ever more consciously connected to the all that is of the cosmic hologram, then we progressively resonate with the wholeness of consciousness. And wholeness is the key word here. Because the more and more we tend to fragment our reality out of whatever the pervasive theme may be at the moment, right now it's fear. If we continue to tether our whole future to this bias, and it's a bias of fear, then we are cutting ourselves off from the benevolent feelings of the whole. Again, we're focusing on just a snapshot of reality and time. And we're focusing on our reaction or response to a snapshot of reality and time. When in truth, there is so much more. And when we talk more in Quintessence Society about reflection, we're going to go a lot deeper into this. Choice and consequence. We literally timestamp our reality of awareness, our identity, through the flow of time. Choice and consequence. Our experience of space-time allows us to, create responses to events that happen in time. And in that buffer of time between the event and our response to an event, we are, on an interpersonal level, creating our reality or personal identity in that. And we do this in snapshots of time through the flow of space-time and 3D reality. Because that is one of the structures that marks how we define our reality here in 3D. And largely what we experience as events that define our reality, what really defines them is our choices of how we respond to events and experiences, right? And then taking it further, the consequences of those choices. And this plays out individually, but it is always and ever playing out collectively, right? And it's where we are also understanding the responsibility of our choices individually and collectively. Remember what I said about responsibility. It is our ability to respond. And in that way, we're all responsible for what happens. Yeah? Conservation. This is another way of understanding cosmic hologram, another principle of co-creativity. It's the give and take. It's the ebb and flow. The ebb and flow of life. Remember what I said again about fractal states. Fractals help us understand the flow state. Or another way of saying it is how conservation works. This principle of co-creativity, which is conservation. That is, when one essence is being expressed in the cosmic hologram, the equal and maybe opposite essence is being conserved. So think about that for a second. If you are an individuated thread of consciousness, you are a fractal of the whole of consciousness, pure source being itself, etc., the cosmic hologram of the all that is. And you are an expression of that, active in some essence that you are expressing in your life. Anything else that you're not expressing is being conserved or stored. So another way to say that really is we are all just stored consciousness waiting to realize itself. This is the co-creative principle of conservation. There's a lot more to talk about there. But something very interesting to maybe excavate and investigate for yourself. We are all just stored consciousness waiting to realize itself. So those parts of you that feel like you are lacking in something, you are wanting. And by the way, if you feel lack and want, you're going to continue to feel lack and want. Because the universe will just respond in kind to that resonance of, well, I'm resonating with lack and want. And the universe says, great, cool. Thanks for making that signal so clear. We'll send you some more of that. Okay? But if you're finding that in your life right now, you would like an opposite energy to be expressed in your life, understand that through this co-creative principle of conservation, that level of you that you just don't happen to be expressing at the moment is just stored consciousness waiting to happen. So the entirety of all those resources for you to have the magic life that you want to live when you wake up and take this magic pill one day where you just decide you're going to be this person, and it is kind of like a magic pill because you have to decide. You have to make that choice if you want to have that consequence, right? And you're responsible for that choice. You're responsible for that choice of, I no longer choose to be in want. I am that. And then the universe says, oh, you're that now. Okay, well, we'll send you that. I know I'm being glib and silly, but that really, simplicity, guys. Let's go back to that principle. Probably the underlying principle of all these co-creative principles I'm talking about here, simplicity. Nature seeks the most efficient form of expression. It's us in our convoluted nature as fractals of consciousness that we like to make things so difficult. You know, we like to fragment and fractionate ourselves even more through the ego personality is our great helper with that. It helps us to fragment and fractionate who we are even more. We break ourselves down to all the things that we didn't do and the things we haven't done yet and the things we already did and we hate ourselves for. And it's like we struggle against the simplicity of our own nature. It's fun, isn't it? When we realize this about ourselves, it's just a big game. And the funny thing is, it's not a game we're playing with anyone or anything but ourselves. Because we are consciousness. We are the all that is. We are God. We are the God self, experiencing a snapshot or a fragment of consciousness in this body at this time. And you can either play with that and have fun, or you can play with it and hate your life and blame everyone else for where you're not responsible for making your own choices for the life you want to live. That part of you that desires to live this other life, have these other attributes, have these other skills, have this money, have this soulmate, it's all just stored consciousness waiting to be realized until you decide to make a choice and reap the benefits of the consequences you desire. Okay? Concession. This is the 8th one, and this is where I'm going to wrap it up because I've been talking for a while here. This is the underlying message, the bigger narrative, the bigger theme, the bigger story playing out. It really is it's like the greater reconciliation of all these previous co-creative principles, and with all of the sum parts that define our existence. It's like making peace with all of it. Every act, every thought, every feeling, every conflict, every blessing is individual and collective at the same time. And we are responsible for all of it. Again, responsible in that we have the ability to respond to all of it. This is the reunion of being that brings consciousness back into wholeness. I really want to invite you to look at a fractal video. So let me see if I can find the one that I used, because this idea of concession is probably the most important one in terms of it bringing a sense of closure, or really summarizing everything that we're talking about here. Because what I was talking about a couple of minutes ago about when a fractal, which focuses on the infinitesimal microscopic point, and then as soon as you focus on that point, that individuated point, it expands out again. And that is the nature of creation. That as soon as something gets so defined, as soon as something gets so streamlined, so pinpointed, that's exactly when it's like going to the subatomic level of something, that you realize that that's not the end of the story. That's just the beginning. And then it all just blows up again. It goes out and everywhere and all at once. And it's non-local and it's non-dual and it's infinite. It is never ending and it just keeps going. When you look at a fractal video, I want you to think about this idea of concession. It's that movement back into the wholeness, felt as wholeness, rather than feeling into just the parts of the fragments of consciousness. It is that understanding that that part can't exist without the wholeness, and the wholeness can't exist without that part. This is the holographic nature of our reality. And I have to scroll through because I have so many ASMR videos that I watch. I love ASMR videos. Full disclosure, I just do. It really soothes me. Let's see. All right, I'm going to find this here. So here is that fractal video. I invite you to watch that and just sit with that and maybe review some of the concepts that I've talked about here, especially if there was one or two that really stood out for you. That usually means there's something in your life right now that you're being invited to investigate. So I know that's a lot. Even though I try to go for brevity in these Support Sunday talks, it never ends up working out that way. But I want you guys to ask questions if you feel like you watch this again and you feel like, I don't know really what you're talking about with that. Can you explain that more? I'm more than happy to break this down a little bit more. But I also, if you are enticed by the idea of the holographic universe, I invite you to read The Holographic Universe, actually. Brevity is relative. There's that relativity piece again. Thanks, Miche. The Holographic Universe. Michael Talbot it's one of the best reads ever, and you'll love it. And if you want to know more about, how we fragment and fractionate ourselves through the timestamp of the 3D time matrix, because we timestamp our reality through our emotional responses to events and experiences. And that's how we create our personal reality in 3D. But it's an entirely human construct. And we've created it so well that we have a hard time uncreating it or unknowing it and moving out of it. And so if this idea really entices you, I highly recommend Timelines Expanded Masterclass. We're starting on the 25th of January. And I think I have, hold on. I'm in my office, so I have my bookshelf, but I have The Holographic Universe. This is such an incredible read and is so well written. Yes, it does talk about quantum mechanics a little bit, but not in the way of some books where you get totally lost in it. And there's a lot of focus on examples, real life situations. It's a wonderful read. I've read the book 3 times. I love it. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And I just, again, thank you for showing up live to these videos. It's so nice to have an audience to talk to. And I'm so glad that you guys like to play along with these concepts. A great documentary on fractals, etc. is Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds. Thanks, Larissa. Cool. Is that something you can find on Gaia? I don't know if I have a Gaia subscription anymore, but it sounds familiar. I feel like that's something that's on Gaia. Right on point, Kay says. Thank you. Thanks so much again, you guys. It's been my pleasure to bring this information to you. Yay. I'm having so much fun in this group. We've got so many new members in here. It's very, very exciting. It's on Amazon Prime. Cool. Thanks, Larissa. Thanks for that information. Now I have something else to watch. Other than football. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful Sunday. Have a beautiful week. We'll see you for episode 7 of All Things Ascension this next Thursday. What the topic will be, I'm not sure yet, but stay tuned and make sure you check it out in the group. It will always be live in Global Acceleration of Ascension. And anytime you want to check out these videos, they are also up on my YouTube channel at Kathryn Massell. So, love and peace. Bye-bye.